Call to order the meeting of the Lake Mills City Council for February the 16th, 2016. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heather, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Fritsch? Here. Mr. Grundon?
Here.
Mr. Kirkevich?
Here.
Mr. Schar?
Here.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Knippel?
Here.
And correspondence, we'll start with Blake. Blaze? Oh, sorry.
Nothing much. It's been pretty quiet.
Okay.
Nothing
Ed?
on my part.
Steve?
Nothing.
Steve?
Couple questions on goat farms, but nothing really for the city.
Diane?
Quiet here, too.
Quiet with me. And we'll, Heather, would you read item 5?
Questions and public comment. The public is encouraged to address the council at this time regarding items on the agenda unless the item is the subject of a public hearing. If your comments pertain to a public hearing, you are asked to hold your comments until the hearing. Public comment may also be made at this time on items that are not on the agenda if you have registered with the city clerk before meeting has been called to order.
Oh, yeah.
State's open meeting law discourages action by the council on items not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes and state your name and address when starting your comments and fill out the sign-in sheet provided.
And seeing no one in the audience, we'll close questions and public comments. We'll go to item 3, corrections and approval of city council minutes for February the 2nd, 2016. Do I hear a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Call the vote, please. Heather?
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkevich?
Aye.
Mr. Schar?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch? Aye. Mr. Knippel?
Aye.
Item 6, city manager's report. Steve?
The
Whenever
goat
you're
farm
ready.
permit-
Good timing.
The goat farm permit has been withdrawn.
Oh, good deal.
So as I understand, that's probably not an issue anymore.
Okay. Very good.
Everything else, I think I'll hold till our next session.
Okay. Item 7, acceptance of minutes of the Economic Development Commission for July 6, 2015, the Public Works Board of November 10th, 2015, and the Public Works Board of January the 12th, 2016. They'll go on record as read. For council business, miscellaneous license. Heather, would you go over that? We just have one, right?
Yep, we received the Class A liquor license for cider only for Daniel Lader of the BP station. It looks like they already have a Class A beer license and are just doing the Class A liquor license application for its sales for cider.
Okay, is that a motion then, or just an application, huh?
No, you need,
It'll be a verbal motion, yes.
You have the motion? Go ahead and read it.
we don't have a motion.
We don't have a
Oh, we
motion.
don't have a
Move to
motion.
approve the,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the cider-only application.
And we have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead and call the vote. Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Mr. Grundon?
aye.
Mr. Kirkevich?
Aye.
Mr. Schar?
Aye.
Mr. Knippel?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Next one is item B, discussion on dredging the mill pond. I guess that would be Steve.
That'd be me.
Want you to fill us in on that one?
You received a letter the last time
Right.
regarding dredging Mill Pond. I think that was more related to wanting to dredge the channel.
Uh-huh.
But I looked at it from the standpoint of doing the whole thing because we, I don't know if you remember, but last year we had a lot of hydrogen sulfide complaints
Right.
in the area of the mill pond. Which means generally that there's enough sediment buildup that you should at least consider some type of action in the mill pond. That being said, I recommend that we start with a study to look at the alternatives, because there are about 6 or 7 alternatives.
Okay.
There are also some things you're going to want to have done, like testing of the sediment. I noted that there were a couple of incidences where they just went ahead and dredged the pond, and they introduced all kinds of environmental hazards to the mill pond and basically killed the mill pond. So I would recommend that we do go through the whole process. You can look at what they do, but they usually do sediment samples. They come through and then give you like 6 or 7 alternatives. One of them is to take the dam out, which I assume we're not going to do.
Good assumption.
Oh, good grief.
Thanks. So, but there are still plenty of alternatives for how to handle it. And then they do put together a best management practices for keeping the pond from sedimenting as long as possible. So there are things like harvesting the weeds, which Mr. Grundon knows something about. There are other practices that you can do. One of them is drying the pond out every once in a while and letting it compact and dry out. So there are several items that we should go through and evaluate and determine what's the best practices for our mill pond. I did talk about separating out the 2 issues, the channel and the mill pond. They both require DNR permits. You have to file, I think it's a Chapter 30 for either one. The mill pond is probably simpler. That being said, it's still a situation of what kind of damage is going on with the wildlife and the environment that it's in and those types of things. So we may at least want to do some level of evaluation while we're filing our permit. I think we'd have to do an endangered species review when we file the Chapter 30 permit anyways, because I'm pretty sure I have on every other one that I've done. I know the water main on American Way out by Brookstone, they had blanding turtles that we had to protect. So those are types of things that we usually go through, but I would recommend that we go through and do a study and maybe fast track the channel, because that's critical and it's shallower and it's critical to moving from the boat launch in the mill pond into the lake. So those are issues that were brought forward. I'm assuming that if one of you directs me at the next one, I'll have a task order from an engineer laying out what it would take to get the job done.
Do we not partner with the DNR on that, or maybe Mrs. Cicero?
The DNR will provide grants from multiple sources, but they don't partner.
Okay.
They consider the mill pond ours, particularly since we got it from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Uh-huh.
And so the mill pond, we actually own the mill pond.
I see.
So they would look at us. They would probably give us grants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that we can find a couple and that they're 50 or more, because depending on how complicated it becomes and how much area we decide to do, it ranges from about $750,000 to $5 million to dredge the mill pond.
Hmm.
So those are things that the study will help us narrow in on too, is what the actual cost is.
And I know the the channel, I think, is kind of, we put the riprap in there, and a lot of that riprap is now in the middle of the channel where kids throwing it in there, trying to bust the ice and whatever, or kids being kids. But what's involved in that?
Well, generally, you would look at a mechanical dredging, so it'd just be a backhoe with a bucket on it,
Uh-huh.
and you'd have a truck there, and you just kind of dig it like you dig a ditch.
I see.
it's a little bit more complicated than that. You have to have the sediment tested so you can figure out where you're hauling it and those types of things. But that's generally what we would be looking at as far as dredging the channel.
Okay,
Mill pond, you could do it mechanically, but then you drain the pond, you let it dry out hard enough, and then you create ways to get in and out. And you can use mechanical, or you can do it from a boat and hydraulically pump it out all the way.
well, isn't that gonna be required anyways to keep the flow for the creek for our septic, or I mean, our treatment plant?
I anticipate that there would always be a channel about the size of the creek. But eventually, all the rest of it would kind of fill in and start to look like a wetlands.
Yeah,
If you don't do it. So if you want to keep an area that looks like the existing mill pond, yeah, you'd have to do it. And, you know, this process could take for the mill pond. I mean, the channel we could probably have maybe this year, but surely by the start of next year. Depending on how much it costs and what we have to budget. But the other one, to go through the grant process and all the permitting processes and the studies, and then the final documents, I'm thinking maybe 5 years. So by that time, it could be a lot worse.
yeah.
So I think now's the time, is a good time to bring it up and have it discussed, and we're to that point where we need to make a decision.
Yeah, I think the channel needs to be done most Scotia, because, I mean, we're charging for boat launches. We should, at least be able to keep a navigable channel through there that can get out to
That
the
one
lake.
isn't much of a boat launch because you have to go under the bridge.
Right,
So it's pretty much moot point as far as I think as far as the boat launch goes. It is a valuable point when it comes to flow to bring the water, as you said, to the treatment plant and through the dam out to the treatment plant. So that one that's kind of a priority one, to have the channel dug for that reason. Not so much for the boat launch part, but.
yeah, well, I mean, it's there, it's in the summer, it's full there every day. I mean, almost every day, especially on the weekends, so, yeah, I mean,
You see quite a few go through there.
there's a lot of people that use that.
Low
so-
boats, but low boats.
Yeah, small
Fishing
boats,
boats,
yeah.
yeah.
But, so what do we need tonight, then? Just, go ahead, or?
One of you needs to send me an email telling, I think that, if you're agreeable to it as a group at this conversation, I'll get a task order put together and we'll start looking at what the costs are.
Is that
See where we go.
suitable to everyone?
Yeah.
Ed, since you're the
I had one
environmentalist,
more comment, and that was it could bring up other ramifications too, because we're continually dump snow, correct, along the mill pond. And as we start to get soil samples and tests and stuff that may have come out of that dumping, we may be looking at an alternative site. The DNR may say enough is enough.
I'm not worried about that. We test every year, and I can tell you what the soil samples are as far as salt, so that isn't an issue. There might be other chemicals, because obviously if you haul snow off a street, you can get a lot of different types of chemicals, so that may be an issue. And then they might tell us, but then it's probably not a bad idea to change either. But from the salt perspective, that's not an issue.
Ed, could you do that then, or you want to take that on?
Did you feel better about a motion? Okay.
You want a motion? Yeah, do it under future agendas. Ask me to provide a deal.
Okay, we'll do that then. All right, fair enough. Okay, so item C, a discussion on the length of time the flags are displayed downtown. Who's got that one?
I brought that up, so I can start it.
Okay.
Asked for it to be on the agenda, so thank you. Because we have specific ones, like today being election day, the flags are out and about. And I forgot to call you, Steve, and ask did you bring anything in on when we currently are doing it for the?
No, I did not.
For the flags. But if we look at the third Saturday in May, which is Armed Forces Day, we have we have 5 events. We have the third Saturday in May, we have the last Monday in May, of course, being Memorial Day. We have June 14th, which is Flag Day. We have July 4th, which is Independence Day, and then the first Monday in September being Labor Day. And I guess my proposal would be to go and put the flags out then on the third Wednesday, third Thursday, third Friday of May, which gets them out before Armed Forces Day, which is that Saturday, and then take them down as work time permits after Labor Day. Now, during that time, we have Town and Country Day, where I think the flags are up, I believe, and some other days they may go up. You know, there's times throughout the whole year, but I'm looking at basically the summer having the flags displayed. And that's why I was bringing it out for conversation at least.
Well, the flags after sunset have to be illuminated. And I don't know if we can, I don't know if they are, but if they're not, then they should not be up. I don't know what,
That was the first bit of conversation we had internally. Well, second. The first one was maintenance of the flags, because they tended to wear out pretty fast if you leave them out any amount of time. The second one was illuminated. Now, we could leave them, the ones that are on streetlights, so that they are illuminated. Those, you know, I think most of them are already on streetlights, so I don't know that that would be a problem per se. I think illumination would be an issue.
okay. So the only issue then is the wear and tear?
Yeah, I mean, I have to go back. Vern wrote the current policy on it, and I think flag wear was the #1 issue at the time. But I'm not sure. So, you know, if you want me to, I can go back and research all the history of why it ended up the way it is. I mean, we spend a lot of time putting them up and taking them down. So how we balance that out, in my opinion, shouldn't be a great deal of change. If they're up for a certain amount of time longer or not, it just that we'd have to plan to change out more flags, which shouldn't be a huge deal, I don't think, but I'll research that.
And we've got neighboring towns that have them out, so maybe we can find from. I should have done that and didn't give them a call to see what their length of lifetime on their flags were.
Yeah, well, you can spend a lot of money and get a long-lasting flag, or you can go low cost and turn them over pretty quick, and it just depends on what you're looking for. Some cities, the Legion provides them all. And they turn them over. In our case, the Legion disposes all of our flags. So, and I know that they provided certain flags for each park, but I don't know that they'd want to provide a lot, you know, because there tends to be a lot of flags on the streetlights when they're out. So, but from an illumination standpoint and taking them down and putting them up, I don't think there's any issue there. It'll be the wear and tear on the flags and the long-term cost associated with the flags.
And that would be offset somewhat by workers having time to do other things.
Ed?
I'd like to see it go forward, an investigation of it. Let Steve
Okay.
look into it, Rudy.
Sure.
Is that okay with the council to
Well,
proceed and get
yeah.
more facts?
I just think, as was mentioned, that we need to limit it to flagpoles that have illumination.
Yeah.
That's my big thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing that, since we brought this up, I've had some people mention to me when someone has died, like on a Friday, but, you know, we have, and it's supposed to be half-staff, that we don't go out on Saturday and half-staff those flags, because, you know, but I'm thinking that people have noticed that we haven't done it, and I'm sure it's because of overtime on staff, but is that something that we normally do, or
If they come out on a Friday evening or Saturday, It goes to the clerk's email address, so it won't be noticed until Monday morning. So that's generally why they're not half-staffed until some point in time, because we don't have anybody checking that email until the Monday morning.
I don't remember the event, but I do remember that it was like a Saturday morning event. And maybe the governor ordered the flags to be lowered or not, or whatever reason, but there was the order for that. And, you know, they stayed up, of course, through Saturday and Sunday. I also know that by the time I drove by at 9 o'clock Monday morning, they were at half-max staff. So I think the staff does a good job of, as soon as you get the notification that they do go down, it's just a matter of coming in Monday morning and getting the notification.
Is there a chance that the PD could work on that?
We are looking at that. It's something that we've checked into. I don't think we fully developed that conversation yet, but yeah, it's something that was an option that we've already started to look at.
Okay.
Yeah, with the technology we have today, I think we just need to find somebody who's responsible to do it or can do it. I mean, if I could reach it, I'd do it myself. Obviously, I'd need a ladder, but, you know.
And a key,
And a key, well, whatever.
because it's locked.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking that I can see where 50 years ago, communication wasn't what it is today.
I think you also have to remember it's not one flag.
No,
Right.
it's not. There's in the parks and,
Yeah, in the parks, and we have in the cemeteries, and so we probably have 15, 20 flags you're going to have to run around and lower.
and I think it's the ones that are most visible are the ones that people comment
Sure.
about.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that are on the main streets and so forth. So if there has to be some choice, get the main ones at least.
Sure. Okay. Any other discussion on that?
No, I just think it's, as a council, I can direct
Yeah.
Steve to pursue it.
If you would, Steve, would you do that? Okay.
And put it on the agenda as an action item so we can vote on it if we want to.
Okay. Item D, Resolution 16-5. This is a resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceedings of borrowing. Proceeds of borrowing?
From the proceeds.
Proceeds. English is my second language, young lady.
You must live at my house.
Would you read that, please, Heather?
Sure. Resolution 16-5, resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing. Whereas the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, the municipality plans to undertake capital expenditures and projects, the projects as listed on Attachment A, and whereas the municipality expects to finance certain capital expenditures on a long-term basis by issuing tax-exempt bonds, revenue bonds, the bonds, or other borrowing, and whereas because the bonds or other financing will not be issued prior to February 16, 2016, the municipality must provide interim financing to cover costs of the projects incurred prior to receipt of the proceeds of the bonds. And whereas it is necessary, desirable, and in the best interest of the municipality to advance monies from its funds on hand on an interim basis to pay the costs of the projects until the bonds are issued. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, that Section 1, Expenditure of Funds, the municipality shall make expenditures as needed from its funds on hand to pay the costs of the projects until the bonds or other financing proceeds become available. Section 2, Declaration of Official Intent. The municipality hereby officially declares its intent under Treasury Regulations Section 1.150-2 to reimburse said expenditures with proceeds of indebtedness, the principal amount which is not expected to exceed $2,565,900. Section 3, Unavailability of long-term funds. No funds for payment of the projects from sources other than the bonds are or are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside by the municipality pursuant to its budget or financial policies. Section 4, expenditures timetable. The municipality finds and determines that the foregoing recitals are true and correct, and that all of the capital expenditures covered by the resolution were or will be made no earlier than 60 days prior to the date of the resolution. Section 5, reimbursement timetable. The municipality hereby declares its official intent to use proceeds of indebtedness to reimburse itself for capital expenditures within 18 months of either the date of the first expenditure of funds by municipality or the date that such project is placed in service, whichever is later, but in no event more than 3 years after the date of the original expenditure of municipal funds for such project. Section 6, compliance. This declaration is made solely for the purposes of establishing compliance with the requirements of Treasury Regulations Section 1.150-2. This declaration does not bind the municipality to make any expenditure, incur any indebtedness, or proceed with the projects. Section 7, public availability of official intent resolution. This resolution shall be made available for public inspection at the municipal clerk's office within 30 days after its approval in compliance with applicable state law governing the availability of records of official acts, including Subchapter 2 of Chapter 19, and shall remain available for public inspection until the bond or other financing are issued. Section 8, effective date. This resolution shall be effective upon its approval and publication. Adopted the 16th day of February 2016.
And do we have a motion of acceptance?
So moved.
And a second, please?
I'll second.
Betsy, put that in the layman's language.
What this means is that we anticipate that for capital projects we have coming up this year, we're going to take out bonds to finance that. And in order to proceed with the project, we need to have certain expenses happening already. And by the Treasury rules, we have to say by this resolution that we intend to reimburse ourselves for these expenditures when we receive the bond funds. So we're just making this declaration that this is our anticipation of how we're going to proceed with the financing, and the expenses that are happening now will be refunded out of those proceeds.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments?
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
I think there already is one in there.
We did.
Oh, we did that?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Ed moved.
Any other discussion? Call the vote, please.
Mr. Shar?
Aye?
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Resolution passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Very well.
Yeah, I guess I do remember that.
I'll get back to, okay. Item 10, convene into closed sessions pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, paragraph 1, subparagraph E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public property with the competitive or bargaining reasons required for a closed session. Do I have a motion of acceptance? And a second, please.
Second.
And we call the vote, please.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye. And we
It's
shall
5-0.
reconvene in the closed session room in 5 minutes.